ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you are all doing well today. I know that today may be a busier day for a lot of us, if it is, football Sunday, for some of us, and I don't know. There's other things going on, I feel like. Closing in on the end of the summer, finishing up vacations, starting new school years. It's a very transitional time. So, I am happy for the number of people who come. Alright, so today I pulled out a soldier fly. This is the overall kind of body shape as we go over and we talk about its body as a whole. The real characteristic thing that we are going to be trying to look at . Give me a second, I've got to fix this. Okay. So one of the bigger characteristics that we're going to see, at least in soldier flies, stratiomyids, is that they've got this cell right here in the center of their veins that's completely closed off. A lot of times people say that it is five-sided. But that's going to be our characteristic for the family, at least in the more common families of flies. If you're seeing that cell right there in the wings, then you are looking at a soldier fly. The scientific name for all soldier flies is stratiomyidae, and so there you go, that's how we spell it. I am able to see the entire insect under my microscope, so I can go ahead and measure it for us. I'm going to be doing the front of the head, not the top of the antenna. So from the front of the head to the back of the abdomen, my fly is approximately 1.1 centimeters. Alright, so that gives you that number. I thought I fixed that. I guess I didn't. One more second, ladies and gentlemen. Alright. Hopefully that stops. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and start sketching our fly here. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to zoom in on somewhere else on the body, just let me know. Or if you want me to slow down, I can do that too for you. This soldier fly was collected in 2010. In 2010 in Lansing, so when I was going to school. So I'm just going to write soldier fly as our common name large, and then I'm going to put stratiomyidae for the family name. I don't have this insect identified down to species, and honestly, I don't think I've tried yet, so I don't know if it would be an easier one to ID or not. Flies are intimidating to me, so sometimes I will they don't tend to be my focus of cleaning my collection and those types of things, but I'm getting close to a point where I need to identify some of my flies to get them into my collection. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start our sketch here. I'm going to change this word up here from stratiomyidae to soldier fly, because that common name is going to be one that people recognize more regularly, so that's going to be fine. And as you know, I like to do a very light over sketch before I go ahead and zoom in and we check out all of the really nifty details on our fly. So I'm going to start all the way up here at the head. As you can see, my soldier fly's head is mostly eyes. Alright, so let's see. The head shape, I don't want to make it too big because I need the fly to fit onto the paper. So I'm going to start, I guess, my fly head as parentheses, and then when I decide that that's about the size that I want my soldier fly's head, I will go ahead and connect the two. I started kind of big, but I need it to fit on my paper. I think that this will work. Alright, so we've got our overall head shape, and then coming back from our head, we have our thoracic region. Flies have all types of different sclerites and different hairs, and they all have different names on their thorax. And admittedly, you know, I'm gonna be able to give you some of these terms, but I don't know them all. There is a really cool key to fly body parts, and I can go ahead and share that with you if you would like it. So if you want the key to the fly parts, you can go ahead and ask for it in the chat, because it's gonna take me an extra minute to go and like search my Google Drive to find it. And I don't want to spend time on it if you don't want it. So, just let me know, and I can send that to you. All right. So my thoracic region is here, right about here where it comes in a little bit. That's where the wings are going to be projected out. And I'm probably, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. I'm probably going to be using the connection to my right wing, because on the left I'm pretty close to the paper. So what I'll end up doing is left legs, and then right wings. We'll see how that turns out. All right. And then our abdomen starts a little bit more narrow, kind of like how this comes down. So it starts a little bit more narrow. I'm going to add these little triangular connector parts. And then it expands out to a point and then comes back to being more narrow. Let's see. Whatever you do on one side, you want to try and double it on the other side. So, as we know, insects are symmetrical, right? That should be about right. Perfect. That also means that my wing is going to go off of the page. Whoops. What I think I'll end up doing is drawing the wing the proper size over here, and then I will have the characteristic cell, that closed D cell, will be on my paper. So that's really the one that matters. Maybe I won't bother with the rest of the wing that goes off the paper. Or maybe I'll draw a little wing on the side and give myself a little key to the veins. We'll see what happens. Alright, so I've got my overall sketch. It's time to zoom in. I'm going to take Terry off the board so that he's not in the way. Move the head down to approximately the center of my scope. And zoom. right, so soldier fly antenna, soldier fly antenna are 3 segmented, meaning they've got 3 segments from here to here, right? So we're seeing an antennal base, segments 1, 2, and then 3, and then on the end of the 3rd antenna, you have this hair, and that hair has a name. It's called the arista. All right, and flies have this very specialized type of antenna where they've got this kind of wide sausage-like antenna with a really long hair on the end of it. So the hair's name is the arista, but if you're talking about the entire antennal type, we actually call this the Aristate Antenna, meaning that this whole antenna type is called the Aristate Antenna, and there are lots of flies that have this form of antenna. Now, if I zoom up a little bit, if I focus up a little bit, let's see. We can see our compound eyes. This whole section here is an eye, and this whole section here is the other compound eye. So you've got 2 compound eyes that pretty much take up the entire head. And then way back here, you've got these 3 little circles, and they're kind of in this triangular shape on its head. Those are the ocelli, right? So let's see, I'll go ahead and spell that for you. Those are the ocelli. Those are the simple eyes of my fly. So instead of these big eyes can see color, they can see shape, they can see distance, but these little eyes can only see shades of light and dark. That's what they can see. They have a hard time seeing even shapes. All right, so the head is actually pretty, the head is pretty deep. There's a large number of spaces where it could be in focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start our focus. Let's see. I'm going to start our focus at the overall shape of these eyes right here. So right about here, I guess, so that we can see the eyes and so that we can see the ocelli. And then after we get the head taken care of, we'll zoom down so that we have the chance to check out the antenna too. Hi, welcome. We are sketching a soldier fly. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and let me know. All right. I'm going to get my sketch a little bit closer to that camera up here so that you guys can see what I'm doing. And up here at the top, so I had originally made my soldier fly's head pretty even on the left and on the top and bottom. But as you can see, it's kind of narrower at the front than in the back. So I'm just going to change this shape really lightly, kind of like this. I'm going to make sure that I have my overall shape kind of taken care of before I solidify those lines. I think that's all right, though. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of darken this outer line here. I'm not going to darken the very center of the top just yet because I am trying to leave that for the antenna. So I've got those eyes right here, and then all the way where I came up to darkened, I'm going to give myself a line that angles in a little bit and then rounds out, kind of like this. Alright, so that's going to be our compound eyes. You can go ahead and crosshatch in there so that you can show that there are lots of little segments in those eyes. If you were curious about the name of all of those smaller eyes in the larger compound eye, those are called ommatidia, spelled like this. Ommatidia. And an individual one is an ommatidium. All right. If we are looking all the way down here in between, on the top of our head, closer to the thorax, we have our ocelli. Like I said earlier, those are our little simple eyes. So I'm going to make sure those are sketched in. And they form a little triangle here. I had somebody in my last Thursday class say that it was weird to see a beetle, beetles' heads because they don't have any simple eyes. Sometimes we get so used to seeing one body part that it feels weird that other insects don't have them. But there's so many ways. So insects are so unique and adapted that they have, it's amazing the different number of body parts that they have. All right, so we've got the eyes and the ocelli taken care of. I'm going to turn this off, and we can go ahead and zoom down, and we are going to look at the antenna. Oh, hey, where'd the antenna go? Moved it too far. Oh, come on, little friend. I might have to change the board he's on. It's being a little slidey. So I changed the board that my soldier fly is on. I went back to the older one because this one's a little easier to move on my board. It's a little older. The paper isn't as white, but hey, it's it moves well, so it doesn't give me all those problems we were just having. Alrighty, yay! We can see the antenna. So, these are what we consider Aristate antenna. So way up here in the front, I'm going to come back to my sketching pencil because I want to do this lightly just to make sure I've got the shapes right. The antennal segments actually come out of the head just a little bit, so we want to make sure we've got that taken care of. And then our actual Aristate antenna are 3-segmented. So we've got this rectangular one that's first. Then we have a small kind of cup-like segment that's very narrow. And then the last segment is kind of longer and wider. Maybe not that long though. And finally, you have the arista, or the small hair-like, the small hair that's on the antennal segments. We call that the arista. All right, I'm happy with those, so I'm going to go ahead and darken them in. That's about right. Okay. Awesome. Alright, so that is what my soldier fly's head is going to look like. Maybe when I zoomed into the antenna, I then made my Aristate antenna a little bit long. So I'm going to zoom out to see the size of the antenna versus the rest of the head. Nope, that's about right. maybe the head should be a little bit wider even. I'm going to leave it alone. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the thoracic region of my fly. Alrighty, so this is what this region of our fly looks like. This little gold shiny thing in the center of the screen, that's the pin going through my fly. So there are some characteristics that are disrupted by that, but it is the best that we can do for now. I want to make sure that we can see the entire region that we're sketching, but if you want, we can go ahead and zoom closer to see some more fine details. We're definitely going to be zooming in closer to check out some of the details down here anyway. So let's go ahead and see what we can sketch before changing our focus one more time. Let's see. From what I'm seeing, where our wings come out, that's going to actually be a little bit wider. Let's see. This is probably what was making me feel like the head was too large. My thoracic region has to start narrow and then get wider. And that is already making my head feel like the right size. Maybe even a little bit smaller on this side. Yes. All right. So we also, as you know, or if you've seen flies kind of move around and shake kind of move their head, they have very, very mobile heads. Some of them even kind of have a stalk that kind of comes out of the thorax and then connects to the head so that it kind of has this movement that's like this. So there will be a lot of times a little bit of space in between the thorax and the head that's just connected by a little bit. So make sure that when you're sketching this, you can kind of see that there's the separation between right here. Make sure that you've got that taken care of. Okay. Gets wider, comes in narrower. Now, you see how it comes out wide until you've got the wings, and then there's almost this V pointed shape. That's what actually I've decided to sketch. So if I follow this central line, I might even give myself a central line with my ruler so that I can make sure my fly stays even. If I go from the shoulders down to this point, that middle point should be the where that middle line should be where the point meets. If my fly is completely the same on either side. And then you'll notice that that triangle, it doesn't point to the very edge of the wing down here. It kind of points to the center. So I didn't start the triangle at the bottom of that D that we built. I started it right about in the middle. That'll give you the line right about in the right place. Keep in mind that normally we're sketching those D's there because that's a shoulder pad for a bee or a wasp. Flies don't have those flies don't have these actual features, so we'll be erasing these. I like to use them because it shows the angle that the wing will be coming out. Alright, let's get this abdomen shape taken care of along with all of these abdominal segments. I love the shading on the abdomen, how it goes from lightest to dark. And it looks like there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a sixth abdominal segment. So it looks like we've got 6 segments. 1, 2, 3, and 4 go larger, and then 5 and 6 get smaller. So, you'll notice that our abdomen does not start exactly at this point because that would give our insect a wasp waist. It's going to kind of start... I've got my soft pencil. It kind of starts back here. And our fly's abdomen does get wider until it gets smaller. So we've got that taken care of. I think that that's about right. I'm going to go ahead and push my sketch down so that you can see the whole thing. These markers out of the way. There we go. All right, so mine, I've been using a ruler a little bit more in my sketches. It kind of helps me keep track of numbers and ratios and things like that. You don't have to. Now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments. Let's see, just trying to eyeball them. I want to give myself those 5. There's 6 segments, but 5 lines. Let's see. I know that the last segment is pretty small. All right, so I think I've got our segmentation all figured out. The abdomen does kind of curve up and then away from us. So the ways that I will generally show that is I find the largest segment, or the segment that should kind of be closest to the viewer. That's going to be this one right here, segment number 4. So this is A4. And so on this one, I have the arch of the segmentation going up and then the bottom of it going down. So that's going to say, oh, this is kind of the largest one. This is kind of at the top of our view. And then the rest of them will follow that angle, the ones going up after it and the ones going down. So that you've got kind of this bigger and then smaller kind of feel to it. The other thing is that we do have some edging in between these segments. So when we come back, we're going to be adding some of these kind of edges to our segmentation so that they look like it's not just one straight line. All right, so I think that's a pretty happy overview. Let's see. We weren't doing an overview. We were trying to silence some of these lines. Let me go ahead. I never darkened my thorax lines. I just moved down to the abdomen. Alright. So, I'm throwing things at myself. Alright, we've got this little bit of a neck here, so I'm going to be adding that into my sketch. I'm going to be erasing some of these lines because they got a little bit dark. So we've got that little bit of a neck, and then our thorax moves down. We have this segment that kind of comes across right about here. And keep in mind, we've got our center line, so we can use that in our sketches. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that we can see some of those details in the shoulders. And then, well, let's just do that now. Let's go ahead and zoom in and check out those where the wings connect to the thorax. Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. And we can even probably scooch this down so that we can see, yes. Alright, so these are the abdominal muscles and things and the like that you are able to see on flies that you can't see on wasps, because wasps are going to have that tegula that kind of covers all of this and protects it. In flies, it's open to predators, to nature, so you can see all this musculature here. This is where the wings connect. So I'm going to turn on my camera here. All right, I erased that D that I had for just kind of that shape here. And I want to... I'm going to give myself an internal arc here. And I do think I want... Oh, look at that. I think that this triangle became too sharp. I think that I want it... more like this. And then you have that triangle piece, so we can add this line right here. And let's see, at the base of our wings, we've got the top. These are going to be a lot of the coastal and subcoastal veins are the top of the wing. Let's see, we got this one, and we've got this one. And then when you get closer to the bottom of the wing or the leading edge of the wing, those are going to be your anal veins and your anal cells. That's what they're called. So I'm pretty happy with that start. And then when we really go ahead and zoom in at the wings, we'll be able to talk about a lot of those features. I'm going to change the focus really quick because I want us to see one of the things that makes a fly a fly. So if I zoom in right about, oh, check that out, right about here, that is what we call... That's what we call a haltere. So it is essentially a fly's gyroscope. It helps them... Gyroscope? Is that the right word? That's not the right word. Anyway, in the air, it helps them balance while they fly. So... flies are going to be the only insect that when they have wings, they only have two. And that's because this haltere is not considered a wing, although it's adapted and in the place of the wing. So it is connected to the second segment of the thorax, and it's called the haltere. And the flies do have two of them, one on each side. This does look generally like what a fly's haltere would. It's kind of like a stalk with the ball on the end of it. And they just kind of help balance the fly's movement in the air, and that is one of the reasons why flies excel so well at flying at flying up and down and backwards, left and right. The reason why we can't catch them is because they have this really cool adaptation that helps them balance in the air while they're flying so that they can really maneuver really well. All right, so that's going to be connected right about here. Alright, so that's our haltere number 1. I'm going to go ahead and add the haltere to the other side also. And I'm going to double up the work that I did on the wing, because this is as much wing as that left side is going to get. My right side is the one that I want to try and get the whole wing on it. The left side I'm going to be hopefully focusing more on legs. Alright, I've got these wing muscles that I'm taking care of, so I'm going to round this out just a little bit, and then I want to try and double exactly what I did on the other side, maybe even hopefully trying to get it a little bit better, because this is the side that I will be using for... That's going to be really good. I'm so excited for this. Maybe our wings are going to turn out well. Okay, so we've got a head, we've got the thoracic region, we've got the wings. Now we're going to go to this abdomen. I already talked a little bit about the segmentation in the abdomen and how we do those how we kind of differentiate the abdominal segments, but we're going to go ahead and look at it one more time. What we're going to do, let's see. Look at all the hairs! He's so fluffy. I'm going to change our word back to soldier fly, just so if somebody shows up and is hanging out with us, they know what we're sketching. It is in the family Stratiomyidae. That's not exactly right. That's better. There you go. The letters are a little bit smaller, but you get both of the names. You get the common name and the scientific name. I think it's worth it. Alright, I'm actually pretty happy with the size of my abdomen and a lot of these lines that we've looked at a couple of times now. So I'm going to come into my abdominal segments with my sharper pencil. And I'm coming in and darkening these segments up until where there's the cross segment, and then I'm going to build each of these kind of like a little box. I'm going to go around, and then I'm going to go in. Alright, and then when I put the next segment on, there's not a lot of segmentation, there's not a huge difference, but there is a little difference, so I'm going to come in and just a little itty bit inside... Just a little bit inside of this one is where I'm going to start the next one. And then it's going to come out and over. And then around. And I'm just going to do that all the way down. And if you weren't here when we talked about the angles of these segments, because my fly's abdomen is coming kind of towards us and then away from us, our largest segment is this one right here. And so once we get there, instead of you curving the lines up, you want to curve them down. So that you can see that real kind of segmentation there. And then, let's see, down. so pretty. Alright, I'm coming in and I still need to erase this center line, my sketch line that was helping me keep center and stay even. I don't need that anymore. I'm pretty happy with how this is going so far. Alright, I do want to kind of darken this up in here because we don't have a wasp waist. There is still stuff in there. It just wasn't really clearly visible, so... Alright. Alright, we have the body taken care of. There are two little cerci on the end of its abdomen. Or at least, I believe they would be called cerci. They've got to be called cerci. C-E-R-C-I would be the name. Not C-E-R-S-E-I like in Game of Thrones. So these are sensory on the end of the abdomen. When you have cerci, you have two of them. Cerci is actually the pluralized word of cercis. Spelled like this. And the cerci on our stratiomyids, they are two segmented. So you can see there's one segment and a second one. One on either side, very small, but hey, they are there and they want to be sketched and labeled. And I'm erasing some more of these lighter lines in here that I no longer need. Cool. Alright, let's sketch. Let's sketch the wing. I've been wanting to sketch the wing, and then we will go back in and do the legs. Now, here's the thing. I want my wing to be pointed out more like this one and less like this one because my sketch ends at the end of the abdomen, so I don't need my wing to be going so far back. So I'm going to be using this wing, and I might even be pointing it out even more so that I can try and get as much of the wing on my paper as possible. Now, there is a really great stratiomyid wing venation chart, and actually it is on Wikipedia. So, Wikipedia is free. I'm going to go ahead and leave that link in the chat box. If you go there, if you can scroll down just a little bit into the characteristics, there's a whole wing venation chart, and you can actually follow that along as we are sketching. That's going to be pretty close to what we see here. If you would like. Alright, I'm going to go back in with my soft pencil. So I was laughing about this because they are the same, like, pencil type. They're these, like, silly football pencils I had when I was a kid. And they're the ones that, you know, you don't sharpen, but you take off, and then there's another sharp tip underneath. And I laugh about them because they're so old, but hey, they're working, so I might as well use them, right? But I've got this one that's really dull, and it sketches really light, and then I have one that was really kind of sharp. So that's what I've been doing, is I've been going back and forth between the dull one for sketching and the sharp one for finalizing the lines. It's been working pretty well. I'm happy with it. Alright, so I am going in and sketching these wings. So this is an anal cell back, oops, that wasn't Terry, I grabbed my whole camera. This is an anal cell right here, so our wing starts narrow and then comes out. So it starts like this narrow, and it goes past the haltere, and then right after the haltere, it comes in. And then goes out, and I want my wing to actually be playing with wing shapes right now. I'm trying to get kind of our correct shape coming out of this corner. I might have to change some of the veins in here to make it even out right, but I'm trying to see which direction I want our wing to come out. I'm thinking something like this. But this has to be more straight. Let's see. That's better. Alright, I think that is what our wing is going to look like for now. Okay. And I want to, so I've got kind of this outline of our wing taken care of. I want to zoom in a little bit at the base here and see what the wing venation, what the wing venation is happening in there. Alrighty, so we've got our what I would call the coastal vein, the first vein on our wing all the way up here. I would probably call this one the subcoastal. Let me see. Yeah, so this is going to be our subcoastal vein right about here. Got our little cross veins. Okay, I think that we got this. All right, so from the inside, I'm gonna darken these. Kind of finalize the outside of the wing so that we have somewhere to work with. But also, the front of this wing is the coastal cell, or the coastal vein. So that starts right here. Alright, so we've got our coastal vein coming out. Then we need our subcosta. And that one is this one that you can see kind of coming out of our base. It runs very near to the top. And then kind of meets back up with it. Alright, and then we've got this one that's coming down a little bit, and it is this one right about here. So it's going to make this split from this two-part split here and here. Let's see. Right about at where the subcosta is the widest, right about here, it makes this split. Almost. I need to do this with the lighter one. I believe it's more like right about here, because then you've got to have the other cross vein. Let's see. Venation is fun and also kind of tricky because it's almost like, it's like the math part of insect sketching. You can do it right or you can do it wrong. You know, there's not really in between, or like almost correct on these guys. And I have been avoiding a lot of flies due to wing venation sketching and the hairs on their thoracic region, but we're doing this, and it's going to be awesome. So, got that one taken care of, and then, let's see. We've got that Y. And then, so right about here, you have this cell that comes around. So it comes around the base. And then you've got this one that goes kind of straight and then angles towards that. So you end up with this anal cell that's closed. We call it a closed cell if it is surrounded by veins. All right, and then this one also comes off and then angles down. All right, so if we're going to come back here, we have to connect this bottom one to our subcosta up here, and this is just a little cross vein, but it also creates the connection for our, I believe this next one, let me see, I can actually look it up. I don't know what the name of this one is. All right, it creates the connection for this small vein that comes here and meets our pentagon. This is the D cell. This is the cell that matters, and it's the one that we're getting to. So I'm excited to talk about it. It has 5 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and is the characteristic for our family. So let's see. So this very narrow vein comes and goes pretty much straight until it meets. You see how this comes down and this goes up at the same place? It's all kind of right about here. And I'm going to be moving our microscope down because we're getting to a point where we need to see more of our veins. What does the end of the wing look like? Thank you for those of you out there who are hanging out with me and sketching. I know that we are a little bit quiet, so if you are hanging out and you're listening, go ahead and let me know kind of where you're from, how you heard about me. Let me know how your sketch is going. All right, I'm going to start all the way up from the top of this wing. Now you notice that our coastal vein, this one that's right here, is still going. So this vein that's along the top is still going, but right about here, it actually comes in a little bit. So I'm going to change just a little bit of the angle of the very edge of my paper because I want to annotate that the wing is coming to a close eventually. All right. Let's see, from right about here is where I'm going to start. I want to grab this vein and pull it over and meet this. So this connects the subcostal vein and then comes down and meets the costa. So right here, our subcostal vein, and it's going to come out. It's going to get wide before it gets kind of narrow, and it will eventually meet up, but that is past where my sketch goes, and that's okay. And then I'm going to add this little itty bitty cross vein, which is probably going to be right at the edge of my paper, funny enough. All right. And from there, I'm going to give us this peg that's going to go to our pentagon. So right about here is where our pentagon is going to be. And then we want one that comes up from this corner. All right, so now we've got 3 points. We've got the one from the top, we have the one from the bottom, and then we have the one from the inside vein. We're going to connect these 3 using this type of shape. And then we need to come out and down. So we'll be coming out like this, and we're making this little pentagon until it gets kind of narrower, and then we're going to close it off down here. All right. Now, I want it to be even more narrow. Okay, so I've got that narrow point. Now, where our narrow point is here, those are going to be veins that come out. And this top one comes out kind of like that. The bottom one comes out like that. And keep in mind, those are going to the edge of the wing. It's just that you can't see the edge of my wing. Now, we've got two more that come out in this general area. One that's coming directly off of the pentagon. So we'll bring this one kind of out and over. Cleaning up this edge of those light lines. I don't want them there when I finish this off. All right, so I've got that one taken care of. And the final vein is not connecting actually to this pentagon. Maybe I should have connected it a little higher up. It's not actually connecting to this pentagon cell, but it's connecting to this stalk right here. And it goes down towards this edge. And that is our wing venation. Now this one right here, I wrote this little D in here. That's the D cell. I believe. So when we make cells, so here's a little wing venation fact. Lowercase are cells and uppercase are veins. So if we want to say this is the coastal vein, you say the C vein and you make it capitalized. But if you want to talk about a cell, it's always lowercase. Now, I believe that the name for this cell is the discoidal cell. I think it's the discoidal cell. And that cell right there is always a pentagon, and that is the identifying characteristic for stratiomyids. So when you're looking at them under a microscope and you see that, you know that you have a soldier fly. So I love those types of hints where it's like you see this and then you kind of have an idea or you know what it is. I always like to double check and make sure using a guide or going and like photo referencing. But those are, it's a really good hint. Okay. Now, we know that that wing is going to continue and do the same thing on the other side, but I want to make sure that we sketch our legs. So I'm going to be sketching the legs on the left, and I might even do the front leg on the right just so that it looks even. We'll see what happens. We've already been sketching together for an hour, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go check out these legs, see which angle is best to view them at. I let these legs really drag when I pinned them up. Oh no, my fly only has 5 legs. It's missing the front leg on the right, so we're going to be looking at the front leg on the left. Even though it's kind of curled in. All right. I didn't realize that my microscope had stopped. I'm restarting my microscope to see if that'll help it. All All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to close out really quick, and I will be back. All right, well, I am sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, but I did get it all figured out. There was a moment there where I was afraid that I wasn't going to be coming back, and because all of my programs decided to close out on me, but we were able to figure it all out. We got it back up and running, all we have left really are the legs. Now, I was noticing right before I got kicked off was that our legs, we've got one of our front legs isn't there, and the other one is kind of up here tucked underneath the body, so it's a little bit difficult to see, but all of the other legs are hanging really, really low. So I find that interesting. There's no way that I would do this nowadays, because if your legs are hanging so low, then that gets rid of space that you had for your labels, right? You can't get your insect labels close up to the specimen if the legs are all dangling. Especially if you mount a specimen properly, the legs should all be even, and these legs are not. But hey, I collected this one like a dozen years ago, so maybe I just didn't know any better at the time. But this is what our legs look like, and so you can see our soldier fly has really kind of long and dangly legs. All right, and also that he doesn't really hold them out like we're going to be sketching these legs. And so I don't know if you even want to add the legs in, because our sketch is already looking pretty awesome. But if you do want to add legs, let's see, this is how we're going to do it. From the top, you're not going to be able to see things like, this is the coxa, or that hip bone right there. This is our femur. We should be able to see a little bit of that, and the tibia. And then we've got all these tarsal segments. So let's look at the middle leg. This is the femur here. This is the tibia here to here. It's kind of a smaller tibia, and it's got these kind of whooshy kind of leg, angulate, I guess might be the word for it. It's got all of these, it's not a straight line. And then you've got a number of tarsal segments. We'll have to zoom in to see how many exactly are there, but I want to get the overall shape and segmentation of my leg taken care of first. So our femur goes out. And then our tibia. You know what? I don't know if I like this. That's fine. All right, let's just go ahead and zoom in on. It's hard to see that front leg. I'm kind of mad about it. So this is our femur. All right, this next one is our tibia. And then we have tarsal segments. So I'm going to zoom, I'm going to change the zoom on our leg to see if we can see those segmentations. It's just so hard. I wonder if we could see them from the other side of the body. little bit better. So our femur is coming down, our tibia is coming out, and then we have, this is one tarsal segment that's long, and then we have 2, 3, and then 4. Alright, so we have one leg taken care of, and then all of the other legs are going to be very similar. Long and thin with 4 tarsal segments. Let's see, our second leg is going to be coming out right about where our wing is, which is why we didn't do the wing on this side, so that we could do the legs. So and then our hind leg, one more time. It's also coming out from our thoracic region. It's likely going to go underneath, underneath your halteres. That's better. Alrighty, so that is taken care of. I'm pretty happy with our soldier fly. We have the legs on one side, we have the wing on the other side. We did spend a lot of time sketching our wing venation today, but hey, it wasn't super complex like a butterfly's might be. It's not a net wing, so you don't have all those crosses. It's not a dragonfly wing. This is a fly's wing, so all of the veins matter. So we went ahead and took care of that, and I think we did a really good job. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending your time sketching a soldier fly with me. I'm going to go on over here to my closing screen. Hi, thank you so much. Right about there, that's where you can subscribe to this channel so that you get updates as to when I go live. That is a reminder to go check out my OutSchool classes. Those are classes for students ages 5 to 8 and 9 to 12. We lower the wordage just a little bit so that the students stay up to date, but also I introduce a variety of scientific words during every class, 1 or 2, just so that, you know, eventually 1 or 2 of the words will stick and then the kids will be excited about it. That is my PayPal link. You also can find my PayPal link in the description box below. Alright, so if the QR code doesn't work, go ahead and find the link in the description box. That is where you can go ahead and tip me. If you learned something today, if I made you smile, if you looked so closely at a fly you've never looked at before, go ahead and send me a couple of dollars, buy me a coffee. It's super appreciated. I love what I do, but it makes it a lot easier to do this when it is supporting me in a way. That's just a reminder that my tag on social media is at Insectopia 2015, all right? Both on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you are going ahead and if you want to look me up or if you want to share something to me, you can use the hashtag at Insectopia 2015 and I should be able to get it. All right, so thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week, or if you're around Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. All right, stay buggy.